Hello, saving the best till last, I see. Right, so the aims and objectives of this trial, it actually originated from a strategy for safety for escalators within the underground. One of our members of staff had come back from Hong Kong where it's compulsory to stand on both sides of escalators, and he was suggesting that we might try this to improve safety. We also came up with some other aims as well. Why not? The more the merrier. So we were looking at Holborn in particular because it had a congestion problem. Some of the stations on either side were closed, so extra customers were coming in through Holborn, which was creating a real problem. Every morning they were having to close the station to one direction. They were having to hold people for the Piccadilly line at the bottom escalators to allow freer flowing. So it was a safety issue there as well. To increase capacity, in a moment Paul is going to talk about the calculations that hold
hopefully
up
not
that
too
theory.
long. Don't worry.
Not too long.
Don't worry.
And kind of as a little extra thing, we wanted to see if we could change customer behaviour. So, you know, as a challenge. So what we actually came up with was encouraging people rather than telling them what to do, to stand on both sides of the escalator. Okay, so this is a graphic that was produced for us, which kind of has a schematic up at the top. Sorry, is it the button in the middle first? Top. Okay. So this shows, and it keeps disappearing. Where's Sam? Oh, he's gone. Okay. The bit at the top with the box around, that's representing escalator number 7, which is gets mainly traffic from Central Line. And the escalator below that is number 6, 5 and 4. 4 is used for entry, and 5 and 6 mainly take traffic from the Piccadilly line, which is the boxes at the bottom, which is a lower level of escalator coming up from the Piccadilly line. So you've got a lower level, a mid-circulating area, and going up to the surface where the gate line is. So what we have in number 1 there is, this sort of underpins the theory that on some escalators where you've got walking on one side, that on particularly tall escalators, you don't get many customers. And you've got lots of space, and you have big crowding at the bottom, and it's not the best use of the capacity. So standing on the left, in theory, should produce something like that, although there still is some crowding at the bottom. Now Paul's going to speak about calculations.
Yes, right. Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's not exactly the hardest of maths arithmetic. It really is. If you have 0.75 metres per second and you have a theoretical capacity of 225, if you've got standing on the right and then standing on the right with a space in the middle, you divide it by 4. You add in the walking people on the left-hand side, you get about, let me think, you get about 62.5 people per minute going up the escalator, because that's 0.5 plus 0.75 gets you your walking capacity. Now, what we looked at was the higher the escalator, the less likely the people are to walk up it. It's guaranteed. You just walk around and have a look. You'll see that people look it up, especially up Holborn or Angel. People just slot back in, and then wait, and then slot back out, and then up they go. So basically, took a bit of a punt at this. So it's a lot looking at it, walking around, getting an idea of from the vertical rises. Taking some work that Phil did, looking at Canary Wharf. So up to 10 metres, basically everybody walks up. Demographic driven, and it parabolas down. So the higher it gets, the less likely you are. So here we took an idea of 40% of the walking capacity is reduced, so you only get 40 people of the theoretical. So that brings it really down to 81.25 people per minute. which then if you do stand on the left and stand on the right, quarter of everything, it's 112 people per minute. So it's 30%, 27%, let's say 30% increase if you have more people. But what this does is it pulls more people up, so it takes away the congestion zone. So it gets people up and funneled out, which is what we were trying to do.
Okay, so we decided to do a 3-week trial. The first 2 weeks, Tottenham Court Road was still closed, so there were some massive extra customers coming through because of that. And we tried to build it up because our customers like to be broken in gently. So we started off with escalator number 7 only, as stand on both sides. And the second week it was 6 and 7, and the final week it was all up escalators. And we had members of staff at the bottom encouraging people to stand on both sides, very politely. And that actually developed over the trial period. They developed ways of talking with the customers that made them feel more encouraged to do it and more likely to comply because there was some resistance.
And at the end, on the last one, we did have big burly lift and escalator engineers sort of standing in the midst to make it work.
Yeah.
So we forced it a little bit, but we needed to know. Shh.
Okay. Oops, sorry. So it's a little video.
Ladies and gentlemen, people travelling to London and Gateshead using the westbound Central Line service to Marble Arch, or the westbound Piccadilly Line service to Hyde Park Corner.
If you don't want to stand on both sides, use this escalator here, please. Use this escalator.
So that was a little real-time video where we had just escalator number 7 standing only. But you can see one of the behaviours we did notice is that if there was a space in front, people would move up into that space, but they wouldn't get too antsy about then having to stop walking up. So we've got another one. This one's a bit more busy. Hope. There we go. So that's just a fast one, because you can see that one was 7 and, yeah, very fast. 7 and 6 were the stand-only ones, and the one on this side going up was the walk-only. You could actually really see the difference. You could see, sort of movement. The people who wanted to walk were moved over, so we actually increased capacity on that escalator as well, because sort of more people than normal were walking up. Okay, so we're going to look at Twitter. Twitter was a blessing and a curse. We got, I think it's a very emotional medium, so we didn't get many sensible remarks from it, but we got a real barometer of feeling. And one of the benefits for us was that the press picked it up, I think from Twitter, I'm pretty sure, and then developed their interest. And what they then did was educated the customers about what we were doing, because,
We didn't do a good job at that.
we didn't do a good job of that. We tried, but we weren't good enough. So, have fun. You see very moderate people. We've got another page as well. And these were just the best ones.
We're not padding this out at all, are we?
No, I can't get this one to... Spacebar. Oh, there we go. I love that top one. So as you can see, it wasn't totally negative. I really like this one about, can I get a T-shirt? And I seriously was trying to push for that we should be maybe even just doing badges saying I stood on the left. Okay, so then the media descended upon us, but it wasn't just local media, it wasn't just the Evening Standard, it was national, then international, then BBC, then Washington Post.
And The Guardian.
Yeah. Well, the guy, he wants you to bring the paper along for him to autograph afterwards.
Every dog.
Okay. Now, I've put this one up because I thought it was quite interesting. It's the first part is the week before the trial started, so you can see normal Twitter levels. And what I particularly liked about this was this big peak at the beginning is the first few days. So that's the Monday and the Tuesday. And that also fitted in very much with verbal responses from people and non-verbal, as in, and you know, sort of, this isn't working, what are you doing? You know, sort of, how dare you, I want to walk, you're trying to make me fat. You know, this kind of rational response. And then that peak is sort of as the week is coming to the end and you have that flat bit for the weekend. Now, the media appeared sort of somewhere near the peak there, and we started to notice a lot of people filming themselves going up the escalators. It was very entertaining. On the second week, the peak is much lower, and that kind of reflects the compliance that we were seeing. So we had a lack of compliance with that big peak. With the change, there was resistance again, but a lot more acceptance. And they got used to it very, very quickly, where it fell off. And then the third week, we thought we were going to have trouble because it was all 3 up escalators, no choice to walk on any of them. But it really wasn't that bad in the scale of things. We'd had much worse on the first day of the week. I just thought that was a really interesting little pattern. Right, it's all
Outcomes.
yours.
So, well, luckily, the calculations were proven right, and we did get an increase of 30%, so yay. But basically, what we were seeing was, 12,000 people using it on escalator 5, and then we were getting 16,000 people going up. So it was throwing people through very, very quickly. One of the positive things that we did here was there was no station control needed. So they had to manage the amount of people coming through by shutting down escalators further down the line. That didn't have to happen, so we were clearing people out that concourse. If you've been there, you'll know what I mean. It's quite small, compact, a lot of people crossing, 2 lines going in different directions. It's very, very interesting. Now, there was no reported incidents on the trial, but it was a short trial, so we can take that as we go, but nobody fell over, nobody was hurt. We did have one person getting their bag caught. Bag strap, yeah. But because we were all there, we just switched off the machine, took it out, and it cracked on again, so there was no real loss. Again, our basic assumptions were all ratified. How people were using escalators number 6 and number 7 and number 5 and 4 were all, that's how the passenger flow worked. So again, that was proven. Passenger behaviour. That was an interesting thing to see. I mean, we worked on the premise of a 60-40 compliance. So 60% of people go for it. You've got to get the other 40% actually going along with it. Actually only really needed one person to stand. But the 60-40 was sort of how we sort of tried to quantify it. But if somebody wanted to walk, they would find a way. We didn't conceive of. There was people that would slalom. Yeah. So they would go on the outside, cut on the inside, go on the outside, and then basically go up to the next bit. And then it'd be, sometimes you get a guy actually moved a child out the way, which we were very surprised at and a little bit shocked. One of the members of staff who was going up, one of the SRTs, she got told to please move.
But less politely.
I think that's the gist. Yeah. But so there was quite a few people, and it's London, so it doesn't really matter. You're going to have 95% of people will sort of get with it and be happy. 5%, even if you serve beer on the escalator, aren't going to be happy. So Do you want to? Yeah. Oh. Too excited. Conclusions up back where we are? Yeah. Oh, that's all right. I'll use the widget here. So it was successful because it improved flows, and we were able to get we showed that there was a change of the station congestion. People found it quite difficult to understand that even though their journey on the escalator was increased, their journey through the station from train to exit was reduced. And that's what we were trying to badge, and that's what we were trying to say, and we were trying to get that out. Habits, because we had the guys there, and we were all, there was a lot of manpower. Kevin will testify to that. We put a lot of people in to make this work. So the first trial, we had counters, we had people at the bottom, SRT staff. You couldn't do it all across the network. Yeah. It wouldn't work like that. It's too heavy. But in the three weeks trial, the behaviours did change, and people were getting used to it and getting on with it, and they were standing on the left again, 5%, not very happy, but we move on with that. But once you sort of spoke to people, they sort of got on board and they understood, because they understood the journey, not the end result. But then I can understand when you're looking at an empty escalator and you've just come through and you want to get straight out, you're just going to go for it, aren't you? So I can get that. Again, I've touched on safety. It's inconclusive. But again, if you're standing on the left and standing on the right and you're not walking up and down an escalator, you're not encumbered, it's got to improve safety. Has to. To me, that's a bit of a no-brainer. It's not a panacea solution. This won't work everywhere. Not for us. Not for London Underground. But what it does do, if it's a very high-rise machine and you've got congestion at the bottom concourse or congestion in another way, it's a method of managing people and movement. So we'd have to do a bit of a tick list and work out where we should be doing this. Next stage. Well, we did continue on doing the trial. We did a longer trial, but using Holly the hologram. Is Holly the hologram? Do we call it something different? Again, I'm not going to go too far into this because Phil is on at 1440 and he's going to tell you all about the EPSS, which is the Escalator Passenger Safety Strategy that he's been working on when we basically borrowed some of the things that we're doing to allow us to do this trial. So we did an extended trial from April to August, and we're just pulling together all the data from that. But again, it looks pretty good. It does show that the data, passenger movement is improved, but again, no need for for station control. That's it. So the last thing is to finish. Right, which is good. Now, I've got a funny here. We were number 18 out of 32 on BuzzFeed of feck off moments. So you can work this out. So you can look this up. So, conceived by Bell End. So thank you very much. And that's us done.